and replace your T-outliner blade. I'm going to show you the way I do it now in 2020. 2019 to 2020. It's December, so I'm going to say 2020 already. I'm going to show you how I replace these. What usually happens is when you got a corded clipper or even a uncorded clipper, cordless clipper, we tend to drop them. So if you drop it, what's going to happen is your blade is going to break. Your blade might break when you drop it. Even the cutting blade can break. See how I'm missing a tooth over there? So if it's not perfect, what it'll do to your customers is it'll cause abrasions, nicks, and cuts. And you don't want cuts on your clients because a lot of clients are very, very picky in particular. And even the smallest clipper cut or clipper burn will force them to decide to not return for your barbering services. So we want to get rid of these. So we'll just throw those to the side. Now what you want to do is get you another blade. You can take it off another clipper like I did here, or you can just open up a new one. But the important thing is that all the teeth are here. So this thing has all the teeth. I'm looking close. It's no nicks, no chip teeth. It's got a pretty smile on it. See, cheese. So there are two tools that I use, and they're both made by the same company, The Rich Barber. I use the blade setter for the T-outliner, okay? And I use the blade modifier. These are two things, and these things work together to make some hitters. I don't care what nobody has to say. I'm just telling you what I do. Now, the blade modifier is great, but the thing that I do is I don't swipe across this thing more than twice. If you swipe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you're going to make your blade too sharp, and it's going to cut your client. So what I do is I take my blade, I read the instructions. It says blade brand logo on this side. So this is the logo, and it's facing this side. So what I do is I stick it in the grooves with my logo facing, and I go 1 full through, and I go 2 full through. That's all I do. I only do it twice. I clean it out, clean out that extra, move that to the side. Now, after I do that, and I only use it on the back blade. After I do that, I come here into the blade setter, and I get my trusty screwdriver. I take my trusty screwdriver and I loosen these babies up. I'm going to move this over here. I want you to see those two guys. Just loosen those two guys up to where you see how it bounces up and down. You want to be able to move up and down like that, right? And so what I do is I just tighten them just a little bit, like finger tight. So I can still move up and down, but it takes a little bit of pressure. See, it still moves up and down with just a little bit of pressure. So now I go to the blade setter and I stick it in that way, see? And now that it's in there, once it's sitting in like that, what I do is, once it's sitting in like that, what I do is I take my 2 thumbs and I force it to the top as far as I can hold it. And then I stick my finger in the middle and I still hold it, pressing it up far as it'll go. And then I quickly tighten those screws while I'm holding it up as far as it'll go with my thumb. My thumb is almost getting red. I'm pushing it up so hard. I tighten those guys up. Then what I do is I just push this back. Boop. And see, it creates that gap. And I pull that baby right out of there. Then what I do is I inspect it real close. I want to see, do I have any move up and down like that, right? And so what I do is I just tighten them just a little bit, like finger tight. So I can still move up and down, but it takes a little bit of pressure. See, it still moves up and down with just a little bit of pressure. So now I go to the blade setter and I stick it in that way, see? And now that it's in there, once it's sitting in like that, what I do is once it's sitting in like that, what I do is I take my two thumbs and I force it to the top as far as I can hold it. And then I stick my finger in the middle and I still hold it, pressing it up far as it'll go. And then I quickly tighten those screws while I'm holding it up as far as it'll go with my thumb. My thumb is almost getting red. I'm pushing it up so hard. I tighten those guys up. Then what I do is I just push this back. Boop. And see, it creates that gap. And I pull that baby right out of there. Then what I do is I inspect it real close. I want to see, do I have any overriding teeth? I'll let you guys look. Do you see any teeth overriding? I don't think so, but they're up there. They're jammed up there real good. Now what I do is, when I come, this is an important part. When I bring this and I'm going to bring these two together, of course I sit that right in the middle of it. I take my thumbs and I line those holes up in the back. See that? I use my finger, my thumb, and my index finger, and I hold those holes tight because it's like a spring action. You want to feel a spring action, like it's pushing away. That's how you know you've got them in there tight. So then I just go ahead and I put it back together. But once again, I'm gonna do the finger tight. I'm only gonna finger tighten the blade because I might move it around again. And I'll show you in 1 second what I mean about moving it around. See, what I want to look for is in the front. And now once again, I don't have my chrome lip here for purpose of it releases a lot more heat. When these things get hot, a lot of heat is released when you don't have your chrome lip here. So I don't put my chrome lip on here a lot of times. It's similar to the techniques that is used when they create a skeleton clipper. Instead of just taking off the chrome lip, they cut this entire area out. And they also, sometimes they open up the chest plate and put ribs in it. And the purpose of that is to dissipate heat. Because although these are, in my opinion, the best trimmers and the most dependable trimmers, they get hot very fast each and every time. So whatever you can do to dissipate some heat gives you a little bit longer airplay, a little bit more time or use of this machine, okay? So yeah, I removed that little chrome plate to help the heat dissipate as I use it. And a lot of times I remove the first screw out of the case, out of the belly. I take the top screw out because it doesn't put as much pressure against the sides of this, and it doesn't put as much pressure on the blade, and the blade can move a lot freer and faster, giving me a more precise and sharper cut, okay? So now I finger tighten it, and I still want to be able to wiggle it around a little bit. I want to be able to wiggle it around a little bit. And as I wiggle it around, I want to make sure as I wiggle it around, let me get it around here. that the blade teeth are staying straight, because this could make it go off a little bit, the middle piece that vibrates and controls the cutting blade. As it's staying still and holding, before I tighten, give it the final tighten, I want to look at it and make sure it's level yet and still, and there's no teeth overriding. If it is, I give it a little push up from the back. See, I can move it in many directions because I only have it finger tight. See, I can do those things. So I'm looking at it from the front and leveling it out. This is my secret, powerful blade sharpening, zero gapping technique that can make you some hitters very quick. So once I make sure it's level like that, I go back, I hold it steady with my fingers again, and I push down and tighten. One at a time, push down and tighten. Then I look at it again, then I hit them. Sometimes you can tell just by how they turn on if you got them hidden or not. I like to test them right here on my arm. This is a softer part of your arm. And as long as I don't feel any cutting here, and even I use both edges, I like to do some edge work with those edges, and I make sure they're not biting much, if any at all. And then I check them again, and they're usually, one good way I like to check them is I use my finger and I sit it across the back. And as I sit it across the back, I can look, and it gives me enough contrast to where I can see the teeth behind it. So if you use your finger like that and you look, you can look for overlapping teeth, and I don't see any. Okay? Spray them up. Spray them out real good. All ready to go. Drippy, baby. So again, Magic Mill. How to zero gap, sharpen, set properly, check them, and line your clippers up. Do you a couple pair. I suggest you get you about 3 pair of these, and you line them up, man, and you got the 3 amigos.